You are listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report, episode 158.4, the Girls Basketball Report, our Alexandria Oak Hill preview, co hosted by Michelle Garmon of the Tipton Tribune and Elwood Call Leader, with guest Mickey Hosier, the head coach of the Alexandria Tigers.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengelt.
Welcome, basketball fans, to the Girls Basketball Report, our preview for what is essentially the CIC championship game between 19 and 1 Oak Hill and 20 and 1 Alexandria. As Michelle Garmon and Mickey Hosier and I discuss coming up, everyone's kind of been talking about the Alexandria Oak Hill game being the conference championship from pretty much the beginning of the season, and here we are. Alexandria, of course, led by senior star Jack Hosier, who's heading to the University of Vermont to continue her career, has had just an amazing season, offensively, defensively, you name it. She and a really good senior class of Tigers won their first 17 games of the season before losing to Pendleton Heights 57-45 in the Madison County Championship game. Oak Hill started the season 4-0 after going 11-11 last year. Then after a loss against Norwell 54-34 on November 23rd, the Eagles have not lost a game since. They've won a lot of close ones, 49-45 over Manchester, 40-38 over Lewis Cass, 42-41 on a putback over Marion in their last game, whereas Alexandria has blown out most of their opponents, but Oak Hill has found a way to win every time. After being mostly ignored by the pollsters throughout the year, Oak Hill is up to number 15 in the latest Class 2A poll. Here is mine and Michelle Garmon's conversation with Alexandria head coach Mickey Hosier about Saturday's showdown at Oak Hill. Well, Coach, it seems like we've been talking about Oak Hill, and I know it's not the end-all be-all because you still have another regular season game after that, and of course, the end-all be-all then comes starting the next week. But we've been talking about this game with Oak Hill for a while, and it's finally here.
Kind of both teams took care of business, and we landed here, and basically it's a conference championship game, which is kind of cool, and got to go up on the road and try to get it done. So we're excited about it.
Mickey, this is Michelle. I know you weren't probably exactly happy with the way things always went in the Madison County tournament, but I thought you guys got out of that and just was that law. I mean, the loss, did it end up being a good thing for your team as far as learning from it?
I don't know about a good thing. I mean, you don't want to lose, and we definitely wanted to win that tournament, but we knew how good Pendleton was, and we knew it was going to be a test that we needed that was probably going to help us down the line. And in the end, I think we came out of it, even though we lost, we definitely did things to them that even though they were a 4A team, they still struggled with our pressure and just some of the stuff that we did. And so even though we didn't want to lose, we were able to look at the film and just say, hey, if we can do this to them, we can do this to anybody. And so again, I think it reassured us of kind of what we are and what we do. And so
And there was a flash or two in that game where it was like, whoa, they're kind of overwhelming Pendleton. So you know that it is in there that a team of that caliber.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of what we saw. We knew we didn't play our best game and kind of turned the ball over more than we had all year, and Jacqueline didn't have her best game, and so in the end it just wasn't good enough, but I think we came out of it knowing that, we're good enough to beat anybody.
Um, so Mickey, tell us about Oak Hill and and I know it's on the road, and Oak Hill is one of those places that you seem to teams seem to go, and Oak Hill seems to kind of like going into Alexandria. They always seem to be a little bit better on their home floor than. Not saying you aren't good on the road, but I mean, a lot of places.
Yeah.
There are a lot of places. There, it's really tough to go in and win because those teams seem just to be really tough on their home floor. I think the Jungle's one of them, and I think Oak Hill's another.
Yeah, it's just it's a tough place to play, and I think it's going to be one of those games that's very contrasting styles, and they've figured out a way to win a certain way, and we obviously have a way that we feel like we can win, and so it's definitely going to be one of those games where it's like who can get the game to the way that they play. Um, I think that we can win playing their way. I don't know. They haven't really played the style that we've played and getting it up and down and kind of get it into a fast pace. But I kind of like as I watch their film, it's just like it's fun as a coach to say, man, they're doing it this way, and that's kind of their way to do it, and they've figured it out a way to do kind of like us, only get beat one time, and so it'll be neat. Just to see those styles kind of clash and see who can figure out how to get it to their style.
But Mickey, it seems like too you've had different players step up at different points for you this season. Lily Harp has been big at times and everything, but it seems like here as you're coming down the stretch, Riley Kellums has really blossomed into a scoring threat for you guys as well, consistent scoring threat.
Oh, I completely agree. And I think in the end, we kind of know like Jack and Lily are going to give us what they are. They're both just great athletes that can steal it from you and just can get to the basket and just do different things to help us win. But Riley has just come on, and she really has just bought into her role. She's a 6 foot center, and she's really just bought into running the floor and getting easy shots. And then I think the thing that's been the best that from a coaching perspective is that we just really ask her to, when a shot goes up, go get the ball. And she's big enough that when she goes and offensive rebounds it, she's right by the basket. And so she's really become like a double figure scorer for us, just giving us 10 to 12 points a game. And in the end, we kind of know what Jacqueline's going to give us. And so if we can get 10 from Lily and Riley, then we feel like we're going to be in pretty good shape each night.
Do you think Riley, a lot of the for her and the way she's playing right now is maybe twofold? One, she's a senior and she knows the high school career is coming to an end, and two, she also knows now what her future holds by um, committing to Earlham and signing with Earlham to go continue to play basketball and golf.
Yeah, I think she was kind of on the ledge of whether she was going to play basketball or not. I think she golf's probably her number one sport, but just a tribute to her. She's probably one of the most coachable kids I've ever been around, boys or girls. And sometimes when you play for a coach that gets after you, and I would fit in that category. It's like you're going to react certain ways. You're going to kind of tuck your head and go hide, or you're going to just shake your head and whatever you're thinking, it doesn't matter, but you're giving the message to the coach that, yeah, I get what you're saying, and it doesn't matter. If I call Riley everything on green earth and tell her what she's doing or not doing, she always is looking at me and she shakes her head and says, all right. And I love that as a coach, because it just makes my job easy. Sometimes you're always trying to figure kids out, and with Riley, I don't have to figure out. I just know she's going to go hard. She's going to try her hardest to do what the coaching staff is asking her to do. She doesn't always do it, but we know she's going to try her hardest and then also be coachable. So that's a great, I would say as a coach, that's about the best compliment you can give a kid.
Most coaches probably don't have a college basketball player ever that they get to coach, and now two in one class. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I definitely haven't. I mean, I've tried to tell people this all the time. Like, as much as it's as fun to coach my daughter, I've never had a player as good as Jacqueline, and so. And then having Riley, I think too, when you're going to play in college, it just means a little bit more. You're probably putting a little more time into it and devoting yourself to it. And so it's been great. Our seniors have been awesome. It's like any season, there's been ebbs and flows, but for the most part, I've told them when we come down the stretch, like my biggest thing for them is I just want them to be rooting for each other. And however the year ends, it's been an awesome year. Obviously, we want to move forward and still accomplish some of the things that we've been talking about. But I don't regret any of what's happened this year, and the girls have been just really fun to work with. And when you're at this point of the year and you can still say that, it's probably a good thing.
Well, Mickey, we talk about that. You, of course, Oak Hill, and then what? One game after that? Is that right?
Madison
Two games?
Grant, yeah, our senior night, Madison
Yep.
Grant.
But this weekend, I mean, on Sunday night, it's a big part to the season. The sectional tournament pairing show, and so of course the draw is going to take place that day. You're um, Wapahani's hosting the sectional, correct? Or
No, we are.
you are
Alexandria is.
okay.
Yeah.
Wapahani's
Yeah.
hosting the boys part. I can never keep
Mm-hmm.
them. I can never keep them straight. Who's doing which? It's because there's too many of them
Yes.
for me to keep track of. So, all right. So you're hosting this section, which is really kind of nice for you. Of course, Wapahani's in there, probably the biggest challenger for you guys come tournament time.
Yeah, absolutely. On paper, it's probably us and them. Obviously, I think Eastbrook is playing a lot better right now. The other three teams have struggled a bit, but I think Eastbrook's come on a little bit. So yeah, it's like we haven't played them. Yeah, I've just kind of been focusing on our schedule and stuff, but obviously watching a little bit of film and keeping an eye on Wapahani throughout the year. And Scott Hudson's funny just how basketball goes, but my first head coaching job in 2002, 23 years ago, I replaced Scott Hudson at Westdale.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking lifetime ago, but he had been there and done a great job, and then it was just kind of time for him to move on and just left it in a great place. And so him and I have always had a little bit of a connection, and we were both on the boys side, and now we're both on the girls side. And so he's a great coach, has a great program, and we're looking forward to hosting it, but we know that it's definitely going to be a challenge.
Do you have a preference for how you would like to see the draw go for you when um is it 6 or 7 teams? I can't remember off the top of my
Ours is
head.
6 teams, so it's Tuesday, Friday, Saturday.
So do you feel like the buy is an advantage for you, or because it's just a 6 team sectional and it's Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, that it maybe is not as important as it can be sometimes if you have the 7 team sectional where you're playing Wednesday and then Friday?
Yeah. I guess it would be great if we weren't on the same side, but this class, their freshman, sophomore, and junior year, we've drawn the sectional. We drew Frankton and they won it, and then we've played LaPel our first game the last 2 years. So it's like, for our sake, it's like we'd love to get a game
An
in.
easy one.
Yeah, not even an easy one, just one that we weren't eliminated in. So yeah, I don't think it matters. I've always, even though we drew LaPel last year, it was like, for me, you could spin it how you want it, but I kind of like being able to prepare for them. But the same way the other team's going to be able to prepare for you, which, when you play the best team in the championship game, not that you're surprising them, but you basically you just have kind of like overnight to prepare.
Right.
So I don't know. I've coached it both ways, and had success and failure both ways. And when I was a player, when we won the Anderson sectional, both years we won it, we had literally the hardest paths. And so I don't think there's ever an easy path. You still got to go play the game, and if it's your time and you're the best team and you play the right way, then it usually goes your way.
Hey, coach, I want an honest answer here. In games when you're supposed to be preparing for teams that weren't very good, how much time were you actually looking at Oak Hill and Wapahani film?
You know what? This entire year we've really tried. You really just try to keep one foot in front of the other, and so we've tried to respect our opponents. I understand it. There's times where it's like we'd have to play pretty bad to get beat by a team, but I still think you're also trying to teach kids a lesson that You
No,
don't
but I
overlook
just mean
anybody.
you. I just mean you.
Not the team.
Oh, I've been watching film of them since November, so
That's what I figured. So.
And
yeah,
I
yeah,
get that, Mickey. I remember the year that Tipton went, and I was helping Nick, and you were coaching Elwood that year, and almost
yeah,
got Tipton in the sectional championship. But that
yeah,
year, for him, I went and scouted in December, Southmont and Frankfurt, because Southmont was a regional team. So,
yeah,
well,
yeah,
I mean, by the time before February, before January even came, the middle of January, I think we, between Nick and Jason Bales and myself and maybe Kevin, we'd seen every sectional and a regional, and Nick had even gone to see Fort Wayne Canterbury, and he also went and watched Heritage Christian. So
yeah. Yeah, I think some of that's like you may play those teams, but I think it's also for when you're a good team, it's like you go to those games and you go, I think we can play with this team. I mean, we're right there. We resemble that, and so even like Pendleton, it's like I think they're really good, and they got two probably Division I type players, but I'm like
Yeah.
we can still turn them over. They still turn the ball over, and so I think sometimes just watching people that you don't play too is it's kind of nice because you're like it reassures yourself like, okay, I feel like we're doing it the right way, or maybe like, hey man, I need to do something a little bit different. But definitely kept an eye on both those teams throughout the year.
Thanks so much to Michelle for helping me with the interview. I say it every time because it's true. She is the best. And thank you so much to Coach Hosier, who's been so good to us from the very beginning, all the way back when he was the athletic director and was one of this podcast's very first supporters. And we appreciate him so much. And thank you for listening. Please go like, subscribe, or follow us on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, or YouTube now so you don't miss a single segment. And the thing that would help us the most would be if you would tell a friend about the Central Indiana Sports Report. You know which one I'm talking about. Tell them. Just copy and paste it into a text. Just hit the share button. It's really easy. I know you've been thinking about somebody who would like the Central Indiana Sports Report. Just go do it, please. It would help so much and ensure the future of this podcast. Uh, the Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.